welcome to another episode of Everything Intellectual Property. Today, we have a very special guest with us. This gentleman has created a bracelet that retrains the brain from unwanted behaviors to healthy behaviors. This bracelet also won Times Magazine Best Inventions in 2018. Please help me welcome the CEO of HabitAware, Sameer Kumar. How's it going, Sameer?
Hey, David. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you giving me some time here this afternoon to kind of go through what you guys have at HabitAware. It's kind of the different technology that you guys are bringing to the masses, which is really cool here. I guess one of the things that I do like to do at the beginning here is just see if you can kind of describe the product. I know which we'll talk about maybe both versions and the differences of the Keen bracelet. And I know you guys have recently launched the Keen 2 bracelet, but if you can maybe kind of just so the audience can have an understanding of what it is that you guys are doing with the Keen bracelet, just kind of give a description of what the Keen bracelet is and what it does.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on. It's nice to talk to you. Happy to talk about the product. So, the product really was born out of personal need. My wife and co-founder, Anila, suffers from hair pulling disorder, which is where she pulls out her eyebrows and eyelashes. And she's been doing it for 20 plus years. And probably just like you, I had never heard about this disorder until, actually a few years into our marriage, when I caught Anila where she was pulling her eyelashes out. And she had done so much damage in that short amount of time that I said, is this what's going on? And at that point, she kind of caught like a deer in headlights and had to explain that this is something that she does as a coping mechanism. And we looked into it, and it turns out it's not just her. It affects a lot of people. Millions and millions of people in this country suffer from not only hair pulling disorder, but also its sister conditions of skin picking disorder. Nail biting is actually another sister condition that's much more common that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep.
But skin picking and hair pulling are the ones that we focus on because they're so under-addressed. They kind of fly under the radar. And, we all deal with stress in our own different ways. But for people with skin picking or hair pulling, it manifests in this really negative way where it causes further damage to their physical condition, enhance or just kind of creating a vicious cycle, creating more kind of negative psychological impacts. And that's what Anila had been going through for 20 plus years, mostly in silence, because she thought she was weird. She thought she was alone and wanted to hide it from everyone she knew, including me. So one day as we were sitting on the couch, I kind of grabbed her hand as she was doing this. And, in a what I hope was a gentle way. And she looked at me and said, that's what I need, but I don't want it to be you doing that because I want to punch you when you do that. She was like, no one wants to be told, no one wants to be caught doing things that they know are not good for them or they don't be doing. And so, this was around the time that, wearables were getting more popular, and we said, why don't we try and create something that helps her become more aware? And so that was the idea for the Keen bracelet.
Wow. And again, that's an amazing story. And I think it's interesting because I think growing up for me, and I'm not sure if I just kind of grew out of it and stopped doing it, but I used to, and I'm not sure if this one of the sister behaviors were like scratching yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I used to scratch my wrist area and then like my eyelids, but then you would like get these kind of bumps and you have to put like eczema or like some cream on it to try to get it to, help the skin out. And I guess I didn't realize that was kind of one of these type behaviors. And like I said, I had it kind of really bad, maybe in middle school and then in high school. And then I kind of just stopped doing it. I guess out of curiosity, kind of before getting off into the Keen bracelet and actually how does it solve this problem? Is one of these behaviors something that someone can just grow out of? And if the case is that a likely thing, or is this something that they kind of try to have to manage and kind of retrain their brain somehow to kind of stop doing the behavior?
Yeah, all of the above. Everyone's different. And, and these are kind of like, you can think of them as grooming behaviors that we all do, just kind of gone awry.
Yeah.
And so it kind of depends where you are on that spectrum. Of course, there's a clinical standard for, if you have trichotillomania, which is hair pulling disorder, or dermatillomania, which is skin picking disorder. And so you may or may not have fallen on that scale, but, in general, you can think about it. If it was affecting your life in outside of just kind of like, this is a behavior that I want to stop doing. If it was creating a lesion on your body, if you were starting to become super aware of when you were doing it or afterwards that you had done it and you need to stop, and you're starting to have this go on in your mind, then you might have been approaching that. But if not, then it could be just kind of a grooming behavior somewhere on the spectrum, and you were able to grow out of it, which is great. And so some people can grow out of it. For people kind of with the clinical version of the clinical standard of this condition, we don't see it too much, but it certainly can happen, especially if it occurs at a younger age. And that's what we hope. And so what our bracelet does is try to help you either grow out of it or really manage the behavior so it doesn't have those other negative effects, where it's spiraling you into kind of the depths of your mind and affecting everything that you do. Where, in Anila's case, she loved basketball. She loved playing basketball. She was good at it. She can still beat me at pig. She got to the point where she didn't try out for her middle school basketball team because she didn't want to be in the gym with the girls with sweat kind of cover up her makeup off her face, so that people could see it. So it was to the point, and that was 20 plus years ago. Yep. And to the point where it's affecting her kind of daily life in a negative way.
No, and that's so. I'm assuming that it is that condition for your wife. Is it a lot better now, especially with the bracelet, or just out of curiosity, how was that?
Yeah,
how she's able to manage it now?
She's been doing really good, and that was the reason we kind of brought it to market. Is with the prototypes, we saw a really nice change. She credits it to her dramatic change over the last few years. It's not to say that she is completely pull free. Right. She will pull occasionally, but it's to the point where it's just one eyelash and not an entire eyelid or an entire eyebrow now. And so for her, that's made all the difference in the world, where it's kind of like this grooming behavior that she knows how to handle. And so that's the whole point of the bracelet, is to help you kind of train your brain out of this behavior before it gets too far along and onto healthier replacement behaviors.
No, for sure. And again, this is why I love, just as an intellectual property attorney, as a patent attorney, I love these stories, and we'll get off into maybe your background, your wife's background here in a little bit. But a lot of times, you guys don't necessarily have, or you're inventing something to solve for something that you guys are going through in your own lives. And, a lot of times other people are going through that same issue, which again, you pointed out that millions of people are going through some type of behavior, maybe not the hair pulling, but it may be something else, or it may be something else. Or the fact that, okay, your wife, you and your wife kind of was able to solve for it to help you out. Like, okay, we can help out others as well. And now let's kind of, develop a product and try to get it out there and again, help others, which I think is amazing. So I'm assuming that the bracelet doesn't grab a hand or whatnot, because I know you said your wife didn't necessarily like that too much. But can you tell how the bracelet kind of helps out someone who's experiencing this, or at least giving them that control back, to making them a little bit more aware of sure. Once they're about to kind of initiate this such behavior?
Yeah. And so, like I said, these behaviors just are the automatic responses to stress or boredom even, or, anxiety, what have you. Right. So everyone is different, but what's pretty common is a lot of people do not know, it's not in their awareness that they are doing this behavior. It's just that automatic reaction, and you can't change what you don't know is happening.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of the bracelet is to bring that behavior to the forefront of your mind. And so what it does is you train it for your own specific behavior. In my wife's case, she has a scanning motion of her eyebrow or eyelid, and it records that unique characteristic of that behavior onto the bracelet, and it continuously monitors your hands for whenever you do that exact behavior again. And when it senses a match, it delivers a gentle vibration. So meeting it with love, having we call it the hug on your wrist.
I like that.
So that you can, not the, aggressive husband grabbing your hand. So, and that way you can say, oh, it's my buddy, my friend is reminding me that my hands may not be where I want them to be. Let me make a different choice. And over time, the more you bring that to your awareness and can actually go for a walk or go grab a drink of water or look at a funny video, do whatever it is that can get your mind out of that, pull state onto something healthier. If you make that your go-to, then that becomes the habit instead of this damaging behavior.
Nice. And I would imagine kind of that was like the original Keen bracelet. And it seems like, from my understanding, you guys just recently launched the Keen 2, which kind of incorporates all these years, 7 years of gesture training, to the point where now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys the user can push a button as opposed to even going through this, I guess, training of the device. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And it's something that we're working on right now. It'll be kind of launching pretty soon, but Keen 2 adds a few different capabilities, primarily from the software perspective. In the app, it's got much deeper tracking of the behavior, and so we can take that and actually use it to develop a characteristic pattern of your behavior. When and where and why is your behavior occurring, to help you get to even before you start to pull, which could be even more helpful combined with the real-time awareness. So, and that work is in development, and it's going to be in a NIH-funded trial. We're going to be testing that in a clinical trial, probably one of the largest interventional trichotillomania trials to date next year. So those will be, so that's part of the Keen 2 bracelet, as well as it's a smartwatch. So it has that built-in kind of, we wanted it to blend in with current wearables. So that people aren't asking you, what are you wearing? Because not everyone is at the point where they're like, hey, my wife, I have hair pulling and I want to try and solve it. People don't want to have that conversation at this point. So those were kind of like the big updates. And then, as you mentioned, we are bringing it to the point where, with all of the data that we've compiled of people doing these behaviors, we've taken the most common 80 to 90% of behaviors and created a characteristic motion pattern for them, so that people will just be able to press a button and it's preloaded onto the bracelet, so that they don't have to go through the training process, and they can just pick and choose and then fine tune it to their behavior.
Nice. And it seems like a lot of this, from my understanding, came through from customer feedback, as far as maybe the press of a button and maybe having a screen and things like that. I guess, out of curiosity, for my own sake, have you guys thought about maybe like having a tool? Because again, it seems like, okay, you have this stress, and then based on the stress that you're going through, you want to have these, these maybe not so good unwanted behaviors. And it seems like the vibration or whatnot is supposed to help you at least kind of become more aware of that. It seems like maybe, like you said, doing something, whether it's walking or getting a drink of water, to help kind of soothe or kind of take your mind away from that behavior, is kind of what the person wants or the user wants. Have you guys ever thought about maybe like playing a song or something like that via the wearable to kind of help out with that? Is that something that maybe the device does it already, but is that something that you guys kind of thought about?
That's an interesting idea. We've definitely had a lot of different thoughts about how we might be able to help people even more just beyond the vibration.
Yeah.
And I like that idea. I think that, what we do have is a lot of, or coming in is a lot of replacement strategies that, and so, a song could be a great one. I think that people have solutions for their own music, and so I think it's probably best left to them to do that. But what we want to do is help them kind of figure out what their replacement strategies are that they enjoy. Yeah. It's doing a puzzle or coloring or listening to music or reading a book, whatever it is. Can they learn those themselves? Can they type the app will have features to help you do this. This is all part of actually what we're building for this trial. Gotcha. And so that the user has their go-tos helped by the app. So, but yeah, I like the way you're thinking.
No, yeah, for sure. And I guess I was kind of maybe more so thinking of the user being able to download their favorite song to the extent that the song is a kind of soothing thing, to download the song on the bracelet for them to be able to kind of listen to it and kind of help them out during that time. I guess kind of maybe moving on here, what was maybe your and your wife's background before then? Because it seems like, again, this is the wearable device industry, and then it seems like you have to be kind of a software developer. Maybe it seems like software is big. Did you guys have that background beforehand, or is that something that you guys maybe learned a lot of and maybe had to hire the right people to kind of help out with that? Because I guess the things that I find out, not only from being a practitioner, but just from doing these interviews, is that a lot of times I guess the business owner, the IP owner, they don't necessarily have an expertise, at least coming into the thing or the industry that they're getting into, and they just kind of find out a lot as they're going along, and kind of, like I said, just making the right relationships to be able to kind of help them, I guess, their knowledge as far as, again, in this case, the wearable device industry, and kind of dealing with software around the actual wearable device.
Yeah, very much so the latter situation, where we didn't have a ton of expertise here on hardware or software. I have an engineering background and just in academia, but was more on the business and finance side of things as a consultant and a professional investor. And so, and then Anila was in advertising and more on the creative side of things. And so, it was really just serendipity, I think, for us. It felt like all the doors were opening. We were meeting the right people. It took a lot of doing, and we went down some wrong roads, I think, in the beginning with different people. But, we went to an event, met our lead hardware engineer, our software CTO at the event, as they've been with the company since then, 7 or 8 years ago. And so it was just amazing. We got into an accelerator program, a hardware accelerator program, HACS, in Shenzhen, China. So we moved there for 3 months, and but that was hugely helpful in just being able to understand the supply chain there, get hooked up with some factories, being able to manufacture in China, where the wearable experts really are for manufacturing. And so all of these doors just kept opening for us, and it felt like the world wanted this product.
Nice. No, and it seems that's that's great. I was going to ask, and kind of thinking back on that, I know I'll never forget, I was interviewing Dan Klesner, who he had the toy game Bop It that was like, at least kind of as I was growing up in my childhood, it was like a staple in every household. And he always said something to me in terms of like the acronym RIGHT, where he was like, if everything is right, then you stand to kind of be, the product stands to do something. And then when he says right, he means to have having the relationships, having the extra ideal, and then the timing, and then the execution of it. And it seems like as kind of you're talking out, things kind of started to really kind of line up as far as things being right and really helping out. I know you talked about you actually having already another career, as an engineer, as a professional investor beforehand. And I think this will help the audience. What is that I guess, decision or that mindset, some of the things that you think about to say when you say, okay, I'm going to kind of leave what I'm doing, kind of focus on this thing full time? Because I know some people kind of go all in at the beginning. Some people kind of do both to a start at the beginning, and then at some point they kind of transition out of their career into being a full-time entrepreneur. For you, what was that decision making like, and some of the things that I guess you needed to check off to say, okay, I'm kind of maybe full-time with HabitAware and kind of doing all the things that we're doing with this?
Yeah, for us it was difficult, and we did a lot of it on the side, and nights and weekends type work while we were pursuing our other jobs. And it was at the point where we had built prototypes. Anila had worn them for several weeks in between, while they would break periodically, and we would fix them, and then she'd try and wear it for another week or two, and it would break again. And so we had that kind of prototype, and then we went to a conference, and you could just see with these half-built, prototypes and an app that kind of worked. You could just see the kids' eyes light up who were there, saying, that could help me. That's like a Fitbit for me. Clinicians were excited about it. They'd said, I had this idea a long time ago. I'm glad you guys have finally are doing it. And so it was that validation. And then I don't think we were going to make this decision unless we got into hacks in China. And at that point, they said, you either gotta do it or get off the box.
Yep.
And so that was the point where I said, well, are we doing this? And we decided, I gave my notice in February of 2016, and a week later I was on a plane to China. And so
Wow.
Yeah, so it's never easy, I think. And it was a roller coaster, but having a place like that we could kind of land and really throw ourselves into the work for 3 months was helpful. Nice. And it had to be done, because I think on the side nothing would have gotten done.
Right. And then I think, at least from my personal vantage point, it seems like you guys have two good things going for you. Number one, whatever reason, I love when you have the husband and the wife duo. I think you guys are more kind of into it as a more like all in, as opposed to, I'm not saying that if you have a business partner, you guys can't be all in, but when you guys are husband and wife, it's like, okay, we're really all in. And then it seems like you guys maybe balance each other out. I'm not sure. I know I have a client who's, it's a team of two people, and one of them is an engineer, the other is like marketing and advertising. And it seems like you having that engineering background, your wife having that advertising background, it seems like that can help out and benefit the business, as opposed to having, say, two advertisers or two engineers trying to start something up. Has that kind of been a benefit to you guys as you kind of been through this process?
Yeah, I think it's been hugely helpful. We have different areas of expertise. And I think they're both critical to the business. Sure. She, being kind of like the key person driving the whole company, the product and company, in terms of what we're building, who we're building it for. So she leads most of the customer facing activities, the brand voice,
Nice.
The images that you see about HabitAware, that's all her doing. And then I am much more involved with the technical aspect of the product, with our engineers, working with them to make sure we're building the right features, architecting it in the right way. Yep. And then also having a little bit of an academic background, I lead our research grants. Nice. And so we have grants from the NIH to, as I mentioned, to kind of validate this and develop it out as a therapeutic device for body focused repetitive behaviors, which is the umbrella term for these disorders. So yeah, and then it's just been nice to have, because we're husband and wife, but it's really helpful to have those areas of separation, because
for sure.
Yeah, otherwise we might butt heads too much, I
think. and I had to say this before I guess get to the IP, because one thing as a patent attorney, when I'm kind of dealing with the client and they're kind of telling me about their invention, I automatically start kind of going through, okay, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do that? What about this? Just to kind of try to throw everything in the patent application. I know we were talking about earlier as far as, being able to kind of notify the user of, I guess, the behavior, and then trying to get them to a more wanted behavior, a more soothing behavior. And I know we talked about music. I'm not sure if you guys have an app or anything, but I think it'd be really cool to be able to, a lot of times, have the device connected to the app. So to the extent that, the device registers maybe an unwanted behavior, come in to kind of maybe even notify the phone to pop on like their favorite puzzle or whatever the case may be, so that can kind of quickly get them to a more healthier behavior. I'm not sure if you guys have something like that, or if you have even an app even for the device, but that seems like it'd be a pretty cool thing to kind of, okay, this unwanted behavior is coming, and you get automatically a notification from your phone and say, okay, here's a puzzle that you like or a book that you like, and just being able to kind of quickly shift to that wanted behavior, that healthy behavior, to kind of take their mind off unwanted.
Yeah, and that's where we're going, is just like helping develop those replacement strategies that will be tested in the trial. We do have an app that connects to the device.
Okay.
Primarily right now, it's more about just kind of like viewing your behavior and understanding your triggers, like what is causing it, and then we're trying to build in these pieces right now, which are, what else can I do? How can this get smarter about notifying me and helping me get to a better place? And then we also offer virtual peer coaching and and digital courses to help you as well, kind of with that mental aspect of, okay, so it vibrated, but now what? Because that's really that's the work that everyone has to do. It's not a magic bullet. It's not a pill. This is work, but with the right mindset, you can really make a significant change.
For sure. I like that. So then I guess to my area of expertise from the IP, again, you're an engineer, so I'm assuming that you already knew about IP, because typically engineers, they have an ideal of IP as opposed to maybe some other career fields. So I guess, did you already know about, okay, IP, early on from your career as an engineer? And if so, what was that point of like, okay, we have this thing that we're thinking about doing, we need to protect the IP that's associated with it?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of experience with IP previously, and so when we started building it, that was the initial question: is can we protect this? And it was a learning experience. I drafted most of our first patent that was issued.
Nice.
So that was exciting. It maybe not the most efficient way, but we didn't have money at that point to hire lawyers.
Do what it do, based on what you have at that point.
So they did review it and added a few things, and that was good. But it was, it also, I think, just made more sense from where we were at that point. I don't know if I would do that going forward, but it was a learning experience. But when we got the patent, it was great. It felt really rewarding, and okay, we do have something here that's protectable.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think this is important, because I know, especially with the software, a lot of people think that you can't protect software, and I'm like, no, yeah, you can protect software. It's probably a little bit more challenging, and some hurdles that you have to jump through compared to like other forms that you can protect. But it is protectable, and it seems like no, that's cool for you to be able to write a large portion of that first patent that issue. Now let me ask you this: have you seen come up from I'm not sure if you guys had taken on investors and things like that, at least early on, where that question came up? Because a lot of times when I'm talking to people, they're like, hey, yeah, if I didn't have a patent, I wouldn't have been able to get money from an investment standpoint. And has that kind of came up in your experience, or maybe not so much? Where investors are asking about, okay, do you have anything protected, IP, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think it was a nice to have. It showed that we were serious, and we were, we did have something novel and unique. I don't think people said, I won't invest in you if you don't have a patent, but I think that it certainly helped.
Okay. And then let me ask you this, because you guys have a different, I guess a different twist and turn in your situation, because like you said, it was for, you had funds from National Institute of Health, NIH, which I know a lot of times that can I guess, cloud things a little bit as it relates to the patent, whether or not, okay, those funds were used to get the patent, and okay, they have maybe I guess a stake in it or whatnot. And it's great if you can, or it's good if you can't talk about it at all. But did that kind of throw things as far as who owns the patent, or kind of not really?
No, we didn't get NIH funds until later, and so
Oh, nice. Nice.
we had submitted the patent before we ever got any grant funding.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So then I guess I always like to ask, I guess two questions. The first part is, what was the most, because a lot of times we think from a business standpoint, it's like this kind of linear progression where it's going to keep going up, 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 up. And it's more of like a sine wave where you have the ups and the downs. And so I guess with all that being said, do you have like maybe a biggest breakthrough from the business up until this point, and then maybe one of the most challenging things that you guys had to, I guess, endure and get through from the business at this point?
Yeah, I'll start with the challenging thing. I think COVID was a significant period of challenge for us, and mainly on the hardware supply chain side, because you just saw huge inflation in components and cost of assembly, and also just insane lead times because everyone was ordering technology products at that time, with the demand for kind of going to remote and everything. So we that was a period that could have easily taken us out of business, because if you don't have product to sell, there's no money coming in.
Right. Yeah.
And so, the silver lining of that was, for us, even though, was, I guess, for the business, was that we saw an increased demand during that time as people had a lot of stress, unfortunately, and it kind of amplified a lot of these behaviors. And so that was kind of a banner year for HabitAware. If we didn't have the problem of not having enough supply at that point, it would have been very good for the business. But it ended up being, ended up netting out. And so I guess it's a good problem to have is too much demand. So that's probably the challenging thing. And then in terms of kind of like new developments and things that have been really good for us, I think that, there's been a few. I think when people see this product out there, the reason for its being, Anila is our primary spokesperson. She's given a TEDx talk that's been viewed hundreds of thousands of times, and people kind of just reach out and say, "Hey, you know what? I just watched this and it helped me." And so, they don't have to be customers. Some people do come to be customers after that, but just seeing another person kind of with this condition talk about it, so in a position where she was so vulnerable, has helped a lot of people, and so that was super brave of Anila, and I think that did just kind of like push us to a new level.
Right.
And then, obviously getting Time Magazine's Best Invention a few years ago, it was great. And it's just the people that write in and say, I had no idea that other people had this condition, let alone someone made a product for it to help people like me. And so that's been super motivating to hear. And then I'll say in recent times, just the fact that what we're doing is looking at kind of other ways to use this technology. And there's been two things. One is the American Printing House for the Blind, which
I saw that.
Yeah, they deliver. What they do is they deliver, I think, all products sold in school, or all products to public schools for blind children, blind and visually impaired children, and in the country. And so they reached out to us and said, "Hey, there's this related condition called eye pressing, where blind and visually impaired children will kind of like push on their eyes because that's the only way they get some sort of visual stimulation. And it can be really damaging behavior, and it also has social consequences. So it's very analogous to hair pulling. And so they said, can we create a version of your bracelet for eye pressing? And so that's going to be launching soon.
Nice.
And so that's really exciting. And then the other thing is we are developing it for eating disorders. And
Wow.
so we have a grant from the NIH as well to adapt it for binge eating, and we're working with the University of Minnesota on that.
For sure. No, and again, it seems like it's surprising as kind of we're talking this out, because it seems like, that's a big stress thing where just like people pull out their hair from stress, or these other different unwanted behaviors or system behaviors. It seems like eating and overeating is also caused by stress that kind of people indulge in once they become stressed out. And I guess I never thought about being able to kind of use this or apply this technology to that situation, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and it's just part of kind of the vision for the company as we grow is, where can we adapt and have really a big impact on help solve a major problem, or at least a portion of it, in a different way than what's currently being offered.
No, for sure. And so I guess a question, kind of a follow-up question based on that. Now, does you have the one bracelet that has all these different, I guess maybe behaviors or solve, or the behaviors that you can solve for in one, or based on what your, the behavior that you want to solve for, you have to get that bracelet that is directed towards that behavior? Is that, I'm not sure. Hopefully that question is clear.
It's for sure. It's just one bracelet. You can program it for whatever behavior that you do. We say that it works best for behaviors kind of like shoulders and up. And so, and then we also have an Apple Watch app that we launched this year, where it doesn't have the full functionality of, Keen 2, which is always on. But, just due to being a third-party developer and not having full control over the hardware, what we can do is give 1 hour sessions. And so that's also super useful because people can kind of use them as training sessions to help to build their awareness muscles.
Yeah. No, nice. That's pretty cool. And I guess even going back to the whole COVID thing, number one, I think if anybody can kind of make it out of COVID from a business standpoint, I think you almost could get through anything. But I guess I hadn't even kind of considered the fact that, people were maybe engaging in these big behaviors a lot more because they were kind of locked at home and things like that. So I guess I hadn't thought about kind of that avenue and how that can, unfortunately, but fortunately, benefit you all in terms of people wanting these bracelets to help out with that. So that's pretty cool. I guess maybe two things I have as far as the final questions. Number one is, and again, this is more so for the audience, because I would imagine that a lot of people who watch the show we all have an ideal. And I think I was watching, listening to a podcast where your wife was on it, was talking about we all are inventors. And I'm a true believer in that, just as a, number one, as a person, but two, just as a practitioner, where I think we all have some type of ideal or something that we can kind of bring to the world. And people who are watching it, they maybe have that ideal or they know what that is, but they're still kind of in and out. Okay, do I go in with a business? Do I not go in with the business? And kind of continue doing what I'm doing as they're kind of going through that, whatever it is in their hand, playing that through and trying to kind of make sense of it. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs as they maybe look to get into, the business of entrepreneurship, whether it's with their product, a restaurant, some type of service that they're trying to provide to the world? What advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, I would say, I think that the biggest thing is make sure it's a problem that you care about significantly, because whatever business it is, you're going to have hard times, and you may have hard times every single year. And what keeps you going is the fact that, the core thing that you're solving, the core problem. And so we can always come back to, hey, we're making a big impact in these people's lives, and that keeps us going. And so if it's one thing, I'd say make sure it's something that you actually really care about. You're either solving a problem you have or solving a problem for someone else that or just something that you really believe needs to be in the world.
No, I love that. And I definitely think, like you said, hopefully you're passionate about it, and it's something that has a greater impact. Hopefully, because times do get tough, and that's only that's it's not if they come, it's when they come, and hopefully it's something that you can kind of fall back on that keeps you pushing. I definitely understand that. I like that. And then I guess the last thing is, number one, how can they follow you? I'm not sure if you're big on social media, and then how can they purchase the product if someone who's interested, maybe they want to get it for themselves or get it for the loved one. I know the holiday season is approaching. How can people purchase the product as well as follow you and HabitAware and kind of what you guys have going on?
Yeah, all the socials at HabitAware is generally the Twitter handle, Facebook page, LinkedIn. I'm not that active, but I'm on LinkedIn. And so Anila is probably going to be more active there. And then, habitaware.com, you can find all the news, as well as, our newsletter has just a ton of, a wealth of knowledge and motivation for anyone going through something like this, dealing with this condition. I like to think that all of the stuff we put out there, can be super helpful in addition to the bracelet or separate of.
Nice. And I'm not sure, did you have the bracelet? I do have a website pulled up in case you didn't have the bracelet on you, just to kind of show people what it looks like. Okay, no, perfect. There you go. Yeah, no, so I mean, I think it's pretty cool, pretty fashionable, and that's cool. So definitely, audience, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Definitely go check out not only what HabitAware is doing on the social media platform, but go consider purchasing the product to the extent that you can really use it in your life. But we all have people, and I have people, and I'm sure obviously Sameer, his wife, but we all have people who kind of maybe suffer, unfortunately, from these different behaviors that something like this could help out tremendously. So definitely go check out the website and look to purchase the product. And hopefully you had your pens and your notepads handy, because Sameer definitely gave some great takes on a lot of different subjects. And so that was cool. Thank you for participating. And audience, I'll see you guys next time. Later.